my point is, it's like there's no reason it should have failed. Like, I think if they had more time to work on it, um, you know, like Remedy has the prestige for a reason, right? This feels like, yeah, just not enough time in the oven, not enough time spent designing and
Well, but not just that. Also, like if it's not your passion, like the best games are the ones where someone or a team with some sort of passion about it is working on it. If and what I think this, this happens unfortunately too often. You get someone, in the corporate, management area saying, "Hey, we need to make more money." And then these corporate execs get together and say, "Oh, how can we get more money?" And they're like, "Oh, let's do this kind of game." And then it's just given to a team, and there's no passion behind it. There's no vision behind it. The creativity, the idea has come from corporate execs who are, who are basically accountants and lawyers instead of being creatives. The way I look at Night Rain is really the same way as I look at FBC Firebreak. Night Rain is not the kind of game that FromSoft have done before. You can very much see the Fortnite the Fortnite influence in there as well. Um, and but the thing is, the difference is they've been successful. Talked about this last time. FBC Firebreak. I did put a video up just of that section and got quite a bit of hate because of what I said about FBC. But hey, I think I've been vindicated because well, yeah, we're looking at the reviews here right now. So yeah, and all reviews are mixed out of what 13.93. And so it's $55 Australian, which is, that's not that cheap. So it's a bit of money. Um, and we've got some reviews, I guess, down here as well. So if we go down to the reviews, what do we got? So mixed reviews. This is mostly positive, but the first couple that have come up are not recommended. Oh, that's interesting. So one of the top ones here. Have you got that up on your? Or you can see my screen, can you?
yes, yeah, I've got both up.
Okay. So I've had fun with Firebreak, and I'm going to keep playing, but I can't recommend spending $40 on it in its current state. Needed more time in the oven. That's interesting. Feels like an early access title. Co-op shooter genre has too many solo titles for a company as big as Remedy to have released Firebreak in the state it's in. Ouch. Ouch. Do you want to maybe read the next one?
The next big one.
Next one here. Can you read it, or can you see it?
Yes, I've got that one up. As someone who has 800 hours in Deep Rock Galactic, 600 in Payday 2, 250 in Helldivers, and 122 in Left 4 Dead 2, I have a strong love for the PvE horde shooter genre and was interested in the trailers I saw for FBC Firebreak. Keep in mind this is coming from the perspective who never played Control or Remedy's projects or hear good things about them. After 11 hours, while I did enjoy it, there have been some major caveats that prevent me from actively recommending this game. I will start off with some positives though. Love the idea. This is quite a
Oh,
hefty.
okay.
I might summarize it.
Yeah, fair
Uh,
enough.
Love the idea of having a team of first responders. Um, the limited weaponry, while it is contentious, a lot of people here complain about only 6 weapons. Someone who came from Payday would much prefer a small range. The perk system. So I'm not sure. I don't think we saw a lot of the perk system in the trailer.
Um,
I think we
I think
saw
we
a
saw
thing
some.
about
Yeah, not in any detail. Yeah.
being able to like share them if you're close. The mission concepts and abnormalities are great, having to fix an immensely hot blasting furnace, self-reproducing mass of sticky notes. Yeah, so the concepts seem to be the strong points.
Which to
Uh,
me seem to come from Control. Actually,
yeah, that
they
definitely
seem
feels
very
like the
familiar.
borrowed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, so some of the negatives. They've changed the progression and put all weapons and toolkit upgrades into its own separate page, so that just sounds like a UI. Early experience just kind of sucks because the pass system that you start with just clearance 1 missions. What your experience is that missions barely last 8 minutes, so it sounds like it just takes a while to kick off.
Mm-hmm.
Missions are unfortunately very short.
Mm.
8 minutes. And if you know what you're doing, they're even shorter. Interesting.
Mm. So saying the next one, I think, is the biggest issue, number 5. What was he saying there?
Skipping number 4.
Oh, sorry. Did we do? Oh, yeah. No. Okay, do number 4. Yeah.
The abnormalities just don't do anything at times, mainly because when playing decently, they get destroyed before having any lasting effect. Due to there being shelter in every area, so it sounds like a lot of difficulty and a lot of difficulty curves is an issue, and balancing potentially. Probably the biggest issue in the game, the lack of variety, which is the biggest killer here. There have been a lot of complaints in the reviews, lack of content, but I think it's really just a lack of variety.
Yeah.
They see, and then they have 5A and 5B.
Oh, okay. Goodness me.
I
Enemy
mean,
variety.
variety
Okay.
seems to be the main thing.
So it's a bit small. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. That's
Yeah. After last stream, I talked about some of the things we talked about with a few different people.
Mm-hmm.
One of them being Gemma, and because one of the fears I had that I feel like you articulated well with your sort of Fortnitification was the idea that is this just a money grab? Is this just taking bits and pieces and trying to smash something together to get some cash flow? And I was saying to Gemma, this isn't completely unprecedented though.
Isn't it?
Well,
For Remedy?
ages ago, we talked about Alan Wake American Nightmare.
Oh,
which,
okay.
I feel like was trying to jump on that horde shooter bandwagon that was happening around 2010, 2012.
Right.
With games like Gears of War is the big one for me when I think about horde shooters.
Mm-hmm.
And so, before this had come out and we'd seen the reviews, I was saying, there's a chance if it's like American Nightmare, it's just a case of, a part of the team at Remedy really enjoyed the gameplay and wanted to, really pull it apart and flesh it out and really see how it's going in there. And that's how I think they came to that sort of American Nightmare stage. But this seems to be based on just those couple reviews and what we've seen. I'm not sure because it doesn't look like Control gameplay. We don't have the double jump and the levitation and the telekinesis. It's stripped back to the gun. So I'm like, the combat system, I don't even know. And it seems like it's too fast paced to play like Alan Wake 2. So it's a new combat system but set in the oldest house.
Yeah.
Which I guess is maybe part of the issue. Maybe they wanted this to be more like American Nightmare, but ended up having to, biting off more than they could chew, which maybe would account for the issues with variety and balance.
So I had some thoughts as well in between times, and I was thinking to myself during that time that, I realised, because I was talking about the Fortnitification of Control games, but also other games as well. And I realised, of course, and I was thinking, why would they have done this? Why would they have gone down this path? And I'm like, oh, hang on. Alan Wake 2. So Alan Wake 2 didn't pay for itself. It took 12 months to pay for itself. I believe also, not only that, it was Epic that at least provided significant funding for the development of Alan Wake 2. Do you know? Can you remember whether it was how much it was? So I'm assuming. I just in my mind, I'm like, maybe in that time, maybe there's some pressure because they hadn't actually made back their money. There may have been some discussions with some meetings with the execs at Epic. talking about, hey, we need to get some more money sort of rolling in and stuff like that, and perhaps there was something going on there that kicked this off. I wouldn't surprise me. We'll probably never know, but it would not surprise me if there was some people from Epic coming in and talking to them, saying, hey, this is what we did, and maybe you should try something like what we did, and maybe a little bit more pressure, since there was cash in the equation as well. So that's one of the thoughts that I kind of had about that. I think it's a bit disappointing. I was worried it was going to be like this. I was definitely worried. To me, it's not a Remedy game. That's the problem. It's just not a Remedy game. And I've seen someone mention that in one of the reviews, that it's not a Remedy game. It's from someone else. So, are you still going to get a copy and play it?
I will. I think it's definitely a case for waiting for it to go on sale. Either that, or for some sort of major overhaul to happen. Because
well, you might be in trouble if you wait too long, mate. Because there may not be anyone else to play with, because it's not looking real healthy.
Yeah,
It's not looking
unfortunately,
real healthy at all.
I was talking to Zebedee just the other day,
Mm-hmm.
and this came up because they are also big Control and Alan Wake Remedy fans.
Yeah.
And so I think we're both in a position of, let's wait and see what the summer sale does.
Mm-hmm.
If it comes out, for a decent sale, then I can rope in a couple friends.
Yeah.
Fortunately, it's just the 3 players. I don't have to find a 4th. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you've got 3. You've got two other
Yes.
friends to play.
Yeah.
Cool. Look,
So,
if it comes out for $4.99, I might buy it as well. But it'd have to be pretty cheap, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think, look, one of the lessons here, I think, for any game designers, any game design studios particularly, is that you really have to be careful about your reputation, and you have to be aware of what your reputation is. So Remedy has a great reputation as a developer of a particular type or style of game. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So what I think is the danger of bringing out something like this is that, particularly since it's undercooked, like by the sound of it, it's very undercooked. Is that, if this happened, if just a one-off, I'm sure they could survive. People are going to say, the next Control, I think Control 2 is under development at the moment. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that should be a much better game. But if they came out with something else similar, next time, then they're starting to destroy their reputation, and reputation means a hell of a lot to people. Once you've built up that reputation, you want to keep that. You want to make sure you don't damage that reputation by, doing too many things like this over time. Otherwise, after 2 or 3 bombs, then you've lost your player base, which is that's what that's the way that's the gold. That's where you get your money from.
Yeah, I feel like that's something we can sort of track back and see happen to a few studios.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I think Remedy, especially, I feel like really lives and dies by their reputation. Like, I feel like the release of Control was the tipping point for them in recent times. I feel like you can go back and see, after Alan Wake, it was a bit like of a cult classic. It was, it didn't blow up immediately. It was cooking, and then they came out with Quantum Break, and there was at the time quite a bit of backlash for the idea of like an episodic game and having to wait for parts of the game to unlock, and so I feel like Control was that tipping point where people played Control and went, wait a second, this is really good. Like,
yeah.
And so that, plus all the sort of that cult classic-ification of Alan Wake, led to this big swell for Alan Wake 2.
Yeah.
And it is a bit spooky to see this game sort of pass by, mixed reviews on Steam. I wonder, I was just talking about American Nightmare. I wonder if they had pivoted, or not pivoted, but followed a closer approach to how they did with that, with this, where, I could imagine a version of this game where it's almost like, one of those extra large DLCs for a game. I think of
Hmm.
like Halo 3 ODST, where it's like, this was going to just be a DLC, but it got too big to be that.
Right.
And so if they
Right.
released an FBC Firebreak where there's a story mode and a
Hmm.
narrative where you play as one of these Firebreak, squads,
Hmm.
and you have all that really, that's like you said, that stuff, the reputation that Remedy is known for,
Hmm.
storytelling, interesting narratives and characters
Yeah.
and writing,
Yeah.
and then on the side you had this multiplayer mode.
Yeah.
I think it would fit in the reputation, and people would be so much more forgiving because they'd say, hey, $50 for like, a tight, compact 4 or 5 hour narrative experience, and as a bonus, you get a multiplayer shooter on the side.
Yeah.
I feel like it would be such a different response from
Yeah.
fans, especially.
I mean, this looking at the numbers, this is a disaster. Like
Yeah,
what's the maximum? What's 761 players? That's not that's really bad. I mean, that is really bad. Particularly, we're just sort of that's the 21st of June, which is a real pity. So I don't know why it's so bad. Whether the marketing has not been particularly strong or something. Because I would have expected to see probably in the I would have thought in the thousands, given that Remedy has such a good name, and that it would have at least started there, and then if it's no good, then it drops off precipitatively. But it's only started at what 750 or something, 709, and then yeah, I don't know. It's a bit of a surprise.
I
Does it surprise
wonder,
you?
like, it surprises me because, yeah, I feel like Remedy, if I were in their shoes, I would want more. But
Mm-hmm.
thinking back on how much of the advertising I saw, I'm like, well, I saw like one trailer months ago, and then one a couple weeks ago. That's about it. And then, not to mention, I appreciate that one reviewer for mentioning a game like Helldivers 2.
Mm.
Like, you're trying to get into this genre that is really competitive at the moment,
Mm.
especially with, not just like good long-standing games like Deep Rock Galactic, but games that are really trying to be more than just a product like
Mm-hmm.
Helldivers.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're very committed to putting out regular content for free. They're really engaged with the audience, and yeah, so it's, I don't know, it feels like knocking on the door and it's just locked up tight.
So with that, talking about other games, I think another one which is just released, and we're both fans of Elden Ring, which is quite okay. So here we go, and I would say also, my criticism of Elden Ring Night Reign is that it is also I mean, even more perhaps, it is a fortnightification of the game. If you haven't seen it, it even has the blue ring of death coming in and squeezing you in. And just looking at this, I mean, how different are we seeing? This is very positive. 80,000, nearly 81,000 reviews. How much is it costing? Same price, exactly the same price. Um, and it's kind of the same thing. Like it is, you could call it an asset flip, both of them, because they're taking the same assets that they've been using in their last successful game, and they're putting a different kind of game in there. Whereas it looks like FromSoft have succeeded. Well, they definitely have succeeded. There's no doubt about that. Whereas Remedy, I wish I knew what it was, because Remedy has obviously not succeeded at this point in time. And the first one we get is
I
a not
do.
recommended. Okay.
I do have some interesting points for Night Rain.
Yeah. Okay.
I was speaking to a friend uh, a week ago, or maybe a bit longer, and this friend, he got me into Dark Souls.
Mm-hmm.
He played Dark Souls 1 and 2 and 3, and that's what he managed to finally rope me in. and Elden Ring, and then with Night Reign, and he was saying Night Reign is fun, but it's not Dark Souls. It's not what he wants from a Souls game, especially if it's a FromSoft Souls game.
Mm-hmm.
And he was sort of saying, in that sense of like the Fortnitification, he was sort of seeing it as this progression where each Souls game had to one up the last one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that kind of is a bit of my thing with Elden Ring is it's like it is just that next step up. It's faster paced, they're bigger bosses, every boss has, the third hidden health bar after you get through the first two. And so
God.
Night Rain, it's like it's following that trend.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that, that's the direction the studios decided to go in, and unfortunately for someone like my friend and myself, it's not quite what we want, but there's nothing wrong with that because it's a trend that they've been following bit by bit. Whereas, FBC Firebreak, you could very easily argue is the opposite of that. Their games have been following a narrative trend and a slower paced trend, and then they've released a game that is fast paced, short, really punchy action. And
Mm.
so it's just like, well, this isn't, this is nothing like what you have been doing.
I kind of, yeah, I'm not sure that I really agree because the way I look at Night Rain is really the same way as I look at at FBC Firebreak. Night Rain is not the kind of game that FromSoft have done before. You can very much see the Fortnite the Fortnite influence in there as well. And but the thing is, the difference is they've been successful. So they've done a type of game. I mean, I think it's not like I think it's still as difficult as a Souls like game, although maybe not. I've watched a few playthroughs. I haven't played it myself, but I've watched a few playthroughs. It doesn't look as challenging as Elden Ring or other Souls games. Have you seen any playthroughs?
I've seen nothing like start to finish. I've just
Mm-hmm.
seen chunks of gameplay, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm familiar with it, like as a concept, but not actually how it all fits together.
Mm, mm, yeah. I mean, to me, it looks like. I mean, they seem very similar. I think you can compare the two, but just one has done it much better than the other. And I think it's something I guess to to consider again. When you're involved in designing games, creating games, just there's the whole idea of, well, number one, who are you putting onto it? And I believe I did watch a video from Belula. I watch these guys pretty regularly, or this guy pretty regularly, and it was interesting. He was saying that the guy who was the game director for this game, for Night Rain, was one of the designers of the combat in Elden Ring. So it's kind of interesting that that's the case, and because really that's what they focused on there. It was an asset flip, and he was even saying this. It definitely was. Elden Ring Night Reign is an asset flip. There's very few new assets in there, but because he was saying because they put this particular guy whose focus was on combat in charge of the entire game, the combat in the game is actually good, which is the FromSoft. Coming back to what you were just sort of saying, that focus on combat. If they had have not got that right, then you could criticize them as saying that's not a FromSoft type of game, perhaps.
Hmm.
But because they did get it right, then people are going, okay, yeah, it's an asset flip, it's the same thing, but hey, we enjoy it. So
Yeah.
yeah, fair enough. Whereas I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know what happened with Remedy, but they have not. They've messed something up. The combat's not the same. The characters are not the same. So they've kind of dropped the ball by the look of it.
Yeah, and it's a shame because it's like I really do. I personally buy into that narrative that you sort of thrown out of following the money and sort of trying to pull out those corporate threads from it,
Yeah,
because,
yeah.
and I mean, if you go back and listen to my reaction to it 2 weeks ago, I wanted it to be good. I still
Yeah,
want it
I
to
could
be
hear
good,
that. I could hear that. Yeah, I think I'm just
and
older and
it's
more cynical. So I was like, nah, this looks terrible. And it
yeah.
does. And I think the lack of success, has.
But yeah, I guess my point is, it's like there's no reason it should have failed. Like I think if they had more time to work on it, um, you know, like Remedy has the prestige for a reason, right? This feels like, yeah, just not enough time in the oven, not enough time spent designing, and
Well, but not just that. Also, like if it's not your passion, like the best games are the ones where someone or a team with some sort of passion about it is working on it. If and what I think this happens, unfortunately, too often. You get someone in the corporate management area saying, "Hey, we need to make more money," and then these corporate execs get together and say, "Oh, how can we get more money?" And they're like, "Oh, let's do this kind of game," and then it's just given to a team, and there's no passion behind it. There's no vision behind it. The creativity, the idea has come from corporate execs who are, who are basically accountants and lawyers instead of being creatives. This has been around. I mean, you get the same thing in the film industry. You get these sort of disasters that are driven. They tend to be driven by the corporate execs, and it's all about making money instead of a passion for the creativity and the passion for the actual game.
yeah. I do wonder, on a slightly, just to bring it back a little bit, have did you see the trailer for FromSoft's next game, The Duskbloods, coming out next year?
Mm, oh, I don't think so. I
It's
don't think so.
set to be multiplayer, 8 player
Mm-hmm.
multiplayer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it's a Switch exclusive, if I remember right.
Oh
Um,
god.
yeah, I
Really?
mean, but this is like,
Really?
it's a lot of
Oh.
really odd choices. But seeing people enjoy Night Reign so much, I wonder if that's almost been like the testing ground. It's like, hey, if we're gonna do an online multiplayer like Souls type game, why don't we just use all the assets we have and see if we can make it fun, and then turn that into
Oh
this, next
dear.
uh next game they're working on.
Oh.
So we'll
So
have a while to wait to find out,
oh,
but
makes me want to cry. I mean, yeah. Look, the thing about Night Rain, I'm not going to play it. It looks. I think it looks crap. I don't want to play it. I'm not interested in playing it. And it certainly it hasn't been as successful as Elden Ring itself. I mean, Elden Ring just hit it out of the park because it made the Souls genre accessible. But this is going in another direction, and I really hope this is driven by It's still driven by corporate. This online multiplayer stuff. We've seen Concord, we've seen Marathon, both of which have failed abysmally. And I mean, one of my favourites has been Rust. Rust has been around since 2013. That's the kind of opposite end of the spectrum, and that's where you get someone who's got a studio who's got a passion for something. 7 Days to Die is another example as well, about the same age. This is not driven by the corporate overlords who want a massively multiplayer game they can just milk and forever and ever. But that's what they want. The corporates want something which is going to give them money again and over time, that they can just pump out new assets for and stuff like that. And I really hope this is not where FromSoft's going, because that would be a tragedy. But I
yeah,
guess someone
I
else
don't know.
would take it on if that's the case.
I do, I do wonder though. Like, Elden Ring to me is Dark Souls, but following the open world trend that I think Breath of the Wild popularized.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I'm like, Elden Ring, one of the most successful games that released that year, to me feels kind of like that. It's like, hey, the market trend says gamers want open world. Can you make an open world Dark Souls? And they knocked it out of the park. So I wonder if a similar thing is like, hey, gamers want 8-player multiplayer. Can you make an 8-player multiplayer Dark Souls? And I'm like, it might be like a corporate push, but if that's the same scenario, it's nothing to say FromSoft can't,
I guess
knock
it
it out of the park.
depends. It depends what is happening internally in that studio. So if it's a corporate thing, and if they're pushing the game developers to do something they don't want to do, well, yeah, maybe they'll do it for a certain amount of time. Maybe they'll even succeed and do it well because they have, personal integrity, and they always want to, get it to do something which is really good. But it's only a matter of time before they turn around and go, you know what, I'm sick of doing this. I'm going to leave and work somewhere else or start my own studio. So and we do. I mean, yeah, how many studios have we seen that happen to over the years? It's very common.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah. All right. Well, that's enough of lamenting over There's always the indies. There's the indies. There's us, the indie developers. We are the future. So yeah. So there you go.